today's program, we continue our special series, Hearts and Minds Uplifted, a collection of short articles from the book of the same title. These stories by authors from all walks of life illustrate the tremendous personal growth that can be achieved by cultivating one's character through practicing Falun Gong.
Putting truthfulness, compassion, forbearance to work in my daily life by a practitioner in Italy. I am a Falun Dafa practitioner from Italy. I am 52 years old. About 2 years ago, I had the good fortune to become familiar with Falun Dafa. And since then, the quality of my life has changed tremendously. Back then, I was having a hard time. I was 50. And I had just lost my job and was searching for a new one. At home, my wife and I didn't understand each other. She is my partner and a good mother to our daughter. However, we quarreled every day and I was very upset. One day in September 1999, a friend of mine came to visit me because she needed to send an email from my computer. She is a Tai Chi and yoga teacher, and she asked me if I had heard about Falun Gong. I answered that I had read about it in the newspapers, but I did not exactly know what it was. So I searched on the internet for related information and found many links. Being curious, I downloaded the book Falun Gong. After reading it, I was really anxious to read other practitioners' experiences. I was really shocked because everything was for free. The teachings, the books, the videos, and the music. I honestly could not believe it and thought that it was a trick to make money. However, reading hundreds of practitioners' experiences little by little, I became convinced that Falun Dafa must be something really worthwhile. What I was interested in was not the fact that as a practitioner, I could have some particular powers, but the fact of putting the three principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance to work in my daily life. From this, I believed I would become a better person and improve the quality of my life for both myself and the people around me. From then on, I started putting into practice the first principle, truthfulness, in the sense that I did not want to lie anymore. I thought it would be easy, but it wasn't at all. I used to tell lies to myself and to others. Now I gradually became aware of them. I am learning to tell the truth. I noticed that just by applying these principles in my life, I have more energy. I think that all the energy I previously used to construct the castles of my lies can be saved, and I feel the joy of liberating this energy. I understand the second principle, compassion, as being kind to the people I see every day in my family, at work, on the bus, etc. I think I was always a kind person, but now it is different. I think that we are, as human beings, one entity, kind to ourselves when we are kind to others. I hope that this thought is not too selfish. I notice that behaving in this way, not lying, being kind, being tolerant, and having patience, trying to behave in a noble way, my life has become more beautiful and full of joy. Many people around me regard Falun Gong as a very good thing. I never tried to convince them of how good our cultivation practice is. All I did was prove it by my actions. Of course, it is very, very difficult. Many times in the family and at work, I am still not able to behave exactly as a true practitioner, but I am learning and improving. My job appears now to be a very fertile environment for upgrading my character. It is at work that I learned to be a good cultivator and do a good job simultaneously. My work and my family changed. I think that they all prefer me as a cultivator to the person I was in the past. When I first started practicing, my wife was very unhappy with my practice. However, she changed her mind when she saw my transformation. As a practitioner, I treat all my problems as tests to improve myself and become a better person. I have started a journey and have found that at the beginning of my journey, my biggest obstacle is myself. I will make it, though, through persistent practice and special attention to upgrading my character. I am very grateful for what I have received from Falun Dafa. If this is the highest level that I can reach in my cultivation, I am sure it is not. I would still find it the most worthwhile endeavor of my life. It has made me a better person, given me a righteous path to follow, and a way to make sense of the circumstances that surround me. It has provided me with a more civilized way to react, more civilized than in the past, when I would usually, with my ordinary mentality, react with hurt or frustration, or more likely anger. Up to now, all the problems and questions that I've come across through my cultivation were answered through reading the book Zhuan Falun and Master Li's articles. I also believe that the problems I will meet later on can also be answered in this way. I want to add one last thing. I think that as practitioners, we must use our wisdom to clarify the truth to the people and spread Dafa. I am a writer, and I think that if I can touch the hearts of the people in my work, it is because the readers can find truthfulness, compassion, forbearance between the lines.
A teenager experiences many benefits from practicing Falun Dafa by a 14-year-old Chinese-American student in the US. I am 14 years old and going into the 9th grade this year. My parents started practicing Falun Dafa in February of 1999. At that time, I didn't really pay attention to what they were doing. I just saw that they were doing a very gentle, slow-moving exercise every day. However, after just a couple of weeks, I couldn't avoid noticing the changes in my family. My mom used to have problems sleeping at night, usually not falling asleep easily. But I noticed that she started sleeping very well and looked energetic. My dad seemed to be not getting angry or raising his voice at me easily. With these incredible things happening around me, I couldn't help mimicking the movements of their exercises to see what would happen to me. After doing the movements for a little while, my body became really warm, and the exercises felt very soothing. My hands were especially warm. I didn't know how this slow-moving exercise got my whole body warm so easily, because when I run and jump while playing basketball, I still can rarely get warm at all. It was amazing. I liked to do the movements very much. Not long after I learned the exercises, I was able to do the double lotus sitting meditation for over 50 minutes. Although it was sometimes uncomfortable, it felt good to do it. Later, I went to group practice sites with my parents sometimes, and I noticed that all the practitioners were very friendly. I didn't know why they were all so nice, so I asked my parents. They told me that the movements were just one part of Falun Gong. The other part was to practice the central components of Falun Gong, which were the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. My mom handed me a book called Zhuan Falun and said, "This book will answer any questions you have." I wanted to start reading, so I joined my parents as they read the book in the evening. We read it together in a group, taking turns reading. They read the Chinese version, and I read the English version. After reading the whole book once, I still had many things I didn't understand, but what I did understand was that Master Li wants us to be good people and get rid of various negative behaviors and thoughts. After learning Falun Gong, I feel it has benefited my life very much. My health has improved. My friends in school are always getting sick and having to stay home sometimes, like I used to as well. But I have not gotten sick for a long time. I had perfect attendance all this year and last year. My studies in school have improved too. I am now in all honors classes and have straight A's. Also, when I first started reading Zhuan Falun, I could only read the English version. When I tried to read the Chinese, I didn't know many of the words and I always messed up. I didn't understand what I read either, so I often got very frustrated from that. But my parents encouraged me with what Master Li said in Zhuangfalun, quote, "When it's difficult to endure, you can endure it. When it's impossible to do, you can do it," unquote. So I followed these words and just kept reading. I read just about every day now, and I can read the whole book in Chinese slowly without too many mistakes. Falun Gong has also improved my character. Teacher said in Zhuangfalun, quote, "You should always be benevolent and kind to others and consider others when doing anything," unquote. I have tried to be kind to my classmates, never getting into fights or arguments like I used to. For example, one time my friend accidentally spilled soda on my binder and got all the papers wet. Before studying Falun Gong, I would have been really mad. Instead, I held it in this time. I just thought that he did not spill the soda on purpose, and there was not really any reason to get mad at him. So my friend said he was sorry and he helped me clean it up. I'm happy that I didn't get angry with him. Otherwise, he would have gotten angry with me too, and there would have been a big argument. In July of 1999, probably because they thought there were too many people practicing Falun Dafa, the Chinese Communist regime banned it. From then on, just because Dafa practitioners persisted in practicing Falun Dafa, many of them were sent to labor camps, prisons, and even mental hospitals as a way to discredit and persecute them. Thousands and thousands of Falun Dafa practitioners have been brutally persecuted, and many tortured to death. I really don't understand why the Chinese Communist Party would persecute good people, and why they would be so scared of good people. As the rulers of a big country, why do they spread lies and rumors to the whole world to slander Falun Dafa? As a practitioner of Falun Dafa, I want to tell people that Falun Dafa is good, and to expose the wicked acts of Jiang Zemin and his followers, who confuse right and wrong and fiercely persecute Falun Dafa. I should safeguard Dafa. In the past couple of years, I've had various opportunities to do this. I have a Chinese friend who has a Chinese satellite dish at his home, so he often watches news reports regarding Falun Gong made by the Chinese regime. One time, he told me some things defaming Falun Gong and also asked me why I practiced. I responded to him by saying, "How would you know the truth about these things? Why do you believe those lies of the Chinese Communist Party? Have you read the book Zhuangfalun?" From then on, he never brought up Falun Gong again. But in my heart, I wish that he would read Zhuangfalun sometime.
Walking an Upright Path and Starting a New Life by a practitioner in China. I am a 24-year-old man who once lost his way. I was lucky to learn about Falun Dafa when I was released from the forced labor camp last May. I was awakened, convinced, and determined to cultivate myself following the guidance of Falun Dafa. It has been over 5 months now, and I have changed into a completely different person and found my way again. I remember at the labor camp, despite the hard work that was imposed on me, my heart remained wild, even though I agreed to be a different person when released. I thought I would not take part in any illegal activities anymore, but rather devote myself to making more money and compensating for my lost youth. My brain was full of ideas on how to make a fortune, but my heart was in great pain after I read Master Li's books on Falun Dafa. I regretted all the bad things I did and all the karma that I added to myself daily. I realized that I was going against the fundamental principles of the universe: truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. My family and friends were trying to make me a better person, but I did not respond to positive incentives and thought being a bad person would be more beneficial. Consequently, I never wanted to be good. Master Li reveals the reasons why one should be a good person by discussing the universal principles, human nature, moral standards, and the development of human society. It made me realize what kind of a person one wants to become is a crucial issue with respect to whether or not one can improve. I am determined to be a good Falun Gong practitioner, to be a good person, to assimilate to truthfulness, compassion, forbearance, and to return to my true nature. The difficulties in cultivation, however, come from many directions. The first conflicts often come from one's own family. I am a young man, but it was very difficult for me to find work since I am only a middle school graduate. and the labor camp sentence did not help either. Nobody in my family liked the fact that I stayed at home and did not work. In addition, I read Master Lee's book and also did the exercises at home, which my family members could neither understand nor accept. I was always being berated for no reason. I treated these incidents as obstacles that I had to overcome and opportunities for me to improve my character. I set out to be a good son at home and a good person in society. No matter how badly other people treated me, I always looked into my own heart to find my shortcomings, measured all things using the standards of Dafa, and acted accordingly. After I started cultivation, I volunteered to do all the housework and cultivated my character through studying the Fa. I gradually got rid of many bad habits that I could not previously give up. Nowadays, my family is much more pleasant. Even though I still have many things that need to be improved, I have changed a great deal from inside and have become a better person. I am also more energetic. There is one more story I would like to share. There was a big flood last year in my hometown in July. My family was remodeling our house, and we had bought some sand and placed it downstairs. After the flood, some people who lived nearby came over, planning to steal the sand. My dad tried to stop them, but nobody listened. When I found out, I rushed down to stop them before giving any thought to the matter. Even though the whole thing did not escalate, I did say some bad things such as, "I am not afraid of death," to scare them off. They all knew my past and did not dare to proceed. I regretted my behavior a great deal after this incident, as my competitive nature was revealed. I realized that I did not pass this test. Of course, I did not yell or hit people like I would have before. If it had been the old me, I would have beaten them up if I was taken advantage of, not to mention stealing sand from my house. In the past, people who lived in our building were afraid of me and also hated me. They often rolled their eyes and gave me dirty looks. When I was sent to the labor camp, everybody smiled and felt relieved. When I came back, they all thought that the troublemaker had returned and disasters were going to happen. Their opinions completely changed after I started cultivation in Falun Dafa. Then, during the flood, I voluntarily built a boat and traveled 2 miles with a few other young men to obtain clean water for everybody to use. The sun was baking hot and the water was cold and dirty. The ground was burning hot and my feet blistered, but I did not complain. I thought, I am a practitioner of Falun Dafa, and this is something I ought to do. I also helped people from other buildings move. I swam out to buy food and drinks for everybody. Actions speak louder than words. Everybody complimented me and smiled. Of course, making people treat me nicely was not my intention. Cultivation in Falun Dafa, however, has generated this positive effect. I would not have acted this way if it were not for Falun Dafa. Indeed, I have changed, and my character has improved. I am now more determined to cultivate. No matter what obstacles I encounter in the future, I will use Falun Dafa as my mirror and teacher to discipline myself and upgrade my entire being. I will reach the criteria of a true Falun Dafa practitioner, be a good person, and make positive contributions to society.
Anesthetist refuses to accept extra income and kickbacks after practicing Falun Gong. By practitioner in China. In mainland China, if you go to the hospital for an operation, there are usually 2 people to whom you must give extra money in red envelopes. One is the surgeon who will perform the operation, and the other is the anesthetist. It's not clear when this practice began, but quite often the money in the red envelopes is their main source of income. Though the amount of money in the red envelope varies from person to person, according to my younger sister, who works as an anesthetist in the hospital, an ordinary anesthetist like her would receive between 7 or 8,000 to 10,000 yuan per month. 500 yuan is the average monthly salary for an urban worker in China. In contrast, a doctor's monthly salary is about 1 to 2,000 yuan. Another source of extra income is kickbacks from drug companies for prescribing expensive medicine. Though it cannot be compared to the amount of money in red envelopes, it is also quite sizable. After practicing Falun Gong, my younger sister, who is an anesthetist working in a hospital, stopped taking the red envelopes and kickbacks for prescribing certain drugs. My younger sister began her practice relatively late. Before the persecution began in 1999, her mother-in-law practiced Falun Gong, and her father-in-law also practiced for a while. However, at that time, she did not know much about Falun Gong and took it as just an exercise for healing illness and keeping fit. After July 20, 1999, her mother-in-law gave up practicing Falun Gong under the overwhelming pressure from the Chinese Communist Party. My sister tried her best to persuade her mother-in-law, saying, "Mom, if you feel it is good, then you should keep practicing it. Why should you care about what the media says? I feel it is good for you to practice this Qigong because it has made you healthy." However, this elderly lady had experienced political movements, such as the Cultural Revolution, before, and was scared to death. She did not dare to continue to practice. At one point, I learned from my younger sister that she was disappointed with the deterioration of morality in society, the coldness between human beings, and people's efforts to take advantage of others. She felt puzzled over human existence. She felt really empty, lonely, and depressed. She even felt despair for the future. I talked to her over the phone about Falun Dafa, and soon she began to practice. 2 days later, I received a phone call. She said, "Hello, elder sister. I have read Zhuan Falun." I asked, "How do you feel?" She replied, "It is so great. I have decided not to take money in the red envelopes anymore." Her voice was full of excitement. "Is that true? You are so quick to improve your character." I was so happy from the bottom of my heart. Immediately, she continued to talk in a flow of eloquence. She said she finally understood the meaning of life, understood why human beings were living in this world, and also understood the value of life. She said she did not feel confused anymore. After a period of time, she told me over the phone that ever since she cultivated Dafa, she felt a completely new sense of enrichment and tranquility in her soul. She did not feel anxious, empty, or depressed anymore. She also felt that she received a new strength for actively moving ahead in life and had found a new meaning to her life. Later on, all kinds of propaganda attacking Dafa came out, becoming more and more irresponsible, slanderous, and deceptive. China was a truly terrifying environment. Facing all of this, I was put in a state of confusion. Every day my mind was full of thoughts about current events, and I did not have the presence of mind to see how she was doing. For a long period of time, she also had similar problems. Occasionally, she called to tell me about how she felt. I learned that she did not have a very good state of mind. She did not study the Falun Gong teachings for a long period of time, and neither did she practice the exercises. She was agonized and could not understand why such a good practice would be subjected to defamation and attack. She could not believe how the CCP leader, Jiang Zemin, in order to persecute a group of good people, could disregard the facts and make up all kinds of lies to deceive the people. She started to jog early in the morning. However, every morning she heard people talking about Falun Gong in the park. Some elderly ladies sighed, looking at the garbage on the ground. When the Falun Gong practitioners practiced the exercises here, it was so clean. You see how dirty it is now. During that period of time, though my younger sister stopped studying the Fa and doing the exercises, she never forgot about the principles she learned. She refused to collect any money in the red envelopes from the patients and did not accept any kickbacks. After I thought about the current situation, I decided to renew my practice and help my younger sister to come back also. Since she cultivated her inner self seriously and made efforts in upgrading her character, she made very quick progress. When she met patients who did not feel comfortable when she refused their money, she would take the money first, and after the operation, she would return the money to them. In her work, she didn't complain about her assignments, jockey for position with others, or worry about personal gain and loss. She gained the respect of her peers, and used her wisdom to clarify the truth to her patients and colleagues.
Thank you for listening to Hearts and Minds Uplifted, a special series brought to you by Minghui Radio. For more information, including news about the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China and experience-sharing stories by practitioners around the world, please visit our website at en.minghui.org.